Welcome back, Marble Race fans, to another episode of the Team Decathlon Battle Royale. Here we are, down to 28 teams remaining, 28 teams to go. 4 will be removed at the end of this episode. And this week's event will be called the Stone Toss, or the Stone Throw, as we like to call it sometimes. It's a fairly simple concept. 4 marbles from a team will be released on a slight incline. They will advance down that incline. At the end of the incline, there will be a foam ball. We will call that foam ball the stone. The marbles will hit that ball with the intent to knock that ball as far as they can. They will have 3 chances to accumulate up the furthest distance that they can attain in order to assure their ability to advance on to the next week. There is no real disqualification or tie-breaking procedures in this event. Measurements will be down to a 1/16 of an inch. And with nothing more to be said, let us get started. First up is going to be the Vampire Division. These are fast races, so don't blink, you'll miss them. Here's our current standings. The 3 teams at the bottom have been eliminated. They will not be participating today. We see that Fiesta time is on that bubble. They need to do pretty good. As we have done in the past, we're going with the worst teams first. Race number 1 for Fiesta time. Here he comes down the ramp. Hits the ball. That's a pretty decent roll. Let's take a look at the measurement. 21.5. We'll wait for official scoring to come back afterwards. Race number 2. Ball is set. Marbles on the way. That looks like a pretty good roll. He's at just shy of the 26-inch mark. I would say probably anything over 24 inches is probably going to be an excellent run for today. That one looks like a decent run. Once again, about 21.5. Let's take a look at what we got. A 68.625. Blue Cruisers, also from the Vampire Division. Race number 1. He comes off with a pretty decent hit, once again, about 23.5. Right there in that 24-inch mark that I was talking about was probably going to be a pretty decent run. Second one, pretty decent. Let's take a look. Absolutely, once again, a 21 3/4. Third run down the ramp, and they're off. That one doesn't look too good. No, it was not. It was just shy of 17 inches. Let's take a look at how they paired out. 62.0625. It does give him second out of 2, so I don't know how you want to take that. Winter Wonderland. First run down that ramp. They hit it. Mediocre run right there. Low 20, about 20.5 inches. Race number 2. That one looks a little bit better, right at the 24 mark, so that's a good mark for Winter Wonderland for race number 2. Race number 3 is on tap. Here they come. That looks like a pretty good hit right there, and that one takes them over 30 inches, about 30 1/4. That is going to give them a 74.8750 total score. First currently in the Vampire Division. That's going to be excellent. That's going to be very difficult to beat. Now we have the Cheesy Cheetahs. That looks like an excellent push out, and it sure was. It was a little over a 31-inch mark. That one didn't look as good, and it sure wasn't. Hair over 16, we'll call it about a 16 3/8. Race number 3 for the Cheesy Cheetahs. And they're going to bounce back with something right in the middle. Sure enough, it was at a 22. Just shy of the 22. Notice our faithful mascot put his nose in there in that final photo. The Sons of Ares. Race number 1, or run number 1.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Not a good run for him. 13.5 inches. Run number 2. Another not so good run. That one's going to be at a 14.5. Needs to really get a good run here in order to assure himself a decent position in the standings. And once again, not a great run. 18, he does not break that 20 barrier. That is going to put him at the bottom of the standings with a 46-inch mark, almost 14 below the place above him. Now we have Snow Fighters on tap. They get a pretty decent run, 26 inches. That's a good start to them. Let's see if they can pull out 2 more good runs and continue on their good standings. Now we have a slight hold up with the start block. We got it fixed and he's off. Now we'll call that about a 17.5. Race number 3. And that is a really bad one. Sub 10, he's going to be at about 9 3/4. That is really going to hurt him. Puts him in currently 5th out of 6 runners with a 53. And Arctic Storm. This will be the last runner for the Vampire Division. Race number 1 is off. Not a great run. About a 14 3/8. Race number 2. I would like to throw out there at this moment that Arctic Storm has clinched a position for this week. They do not need to worry about elimination, but you don't want to fall too far behind in the standings. And on their third run, they once again do not break a 20, so they have 3 sub-20 scores. They are going to end up in 6th place with a 47.0625. There's our total final standings for the Vampire Division. Let's see how we stand. Fiesta Time is at the bottom, and unfortunately with 2 bronze medals, he is going to be the first medaled contender to be eliminated. And there he goes. Now we have the Werewolf Division. Sadly, we had to say bye to Fiesta Time. And Desert Oasis is kind of in the same boat, sitting at the bottom of their standings. Race number 1 for Desert Oasis. And he gets a really great launch. He is at a 28 1/4. That is going to be an excellent start for Desert Oasis. Once again, like I said, he's at the bottom of the standings, so he needs to put a good showing if he intends to remain after this event. Second run is at a little over a 20. We'll call that a 20 1/4. Run number 3. And another mediocre one. Hair over 18. We'll call it 18 1/4. Maybe 18 1/8. So he ends up with a 66.5625. Not a bad score. He should be able to maintain middle of the stream. Now we have Touch of Grey. Race number 1 for Touch of Grey. Touch Grey ends up with a 18.5 or 18.5 for his first run. Race number 2. Looks like he's going to end up with about the same. Sure enough. Probably about a 19 1/8. Really would like to get about a 20 in here to help boost his score up, but it does not look like that's what he's going to get. He ends up with a 14 1/8. Touch of Grey is going to end up with a 51.6875. Currently second, but only 2 runners have run. Let's see if he can manage to somehow hold on to this. Glaciers. Their first run is pretty decent. Just shy of that 20 mark. We'll call it 19 1/2. Run number 2. Another moderate one, right at the 20 mark. We'll wait for timing and scoring to determine the final measurements on all these. Third one was not a good one. Didn't even make the 12-inch mark. It's going to be 11 and some change. So they end up with a 51.28. They are currently in last place or third place if you want to look at it from a optimistic point of view. Ocean's Depth is up now. First hit was a good one. Takes it out to 24.5 inches. The second run. A moderate one. Puts him at about 15.5. Race number 3, I'd like to get a good one. It looks like he's in the 18.5. Not great, but he'll be in the middle. Currently holding second place with a 58.3125. Now we have Starry Skies. Starry Skies gets his first run off, and it's going to be mid-17s. Not a great run, not a bad run. We've seen some poor runs, and we've seen some excellent runs. Second run is going to be at about a 19.25. Really like to get into the 20s on his third. Does he do it? Yes, he does. Just shy at 21. We'll call that 20 3/4. Timing scoring has given him a score of 56.7500. Third place out of 5 runners. Seaweed Speeders. Run number 1. Looks like he get a good bounce off on that. Sure enough, just shy of the 21. We'll call it 21 7/8. Run number 2. Run number 2 does not look as good. Matter of fact, it looked like when the marbles went further than the ball himself, he ended up with about a 15.5. Run number 3. He gets a good third run, and sure enough, timing scoring gives him almost a 26. Gives him second place with a 61.9375. Now we have River Rapids. This will finish off the Werewolf Division. First one, I'm going to say he's mid-20s, sure enough, at about 23, dead on. Run number 2. Not as good as the first, and it shows there at a 19.25. Run number 3. And another subpar one, it's going to be a 15.5. So that's going to put River Rapids fourth out of 7 runners with a score of 57.75. There's all of our scores. And Touch of Gray is being eliminated. Even though they had a gold medal, they did not hold the score to catch up to the Glaciers. And they are now going home. Next up is the Zombie Division. And here's how we look. Chocolate Mints are the ones at the bottom. They're holding on. They've actually got a big lead that they have to overcome, or a big deficit, I should say. So let's see if they can knock it out of the way here. First run, and that kind of run is not going to do it for them. That's a 20.5. Normally would be a good run, but they really need to put together an outstanding run in order to make it past this week. They got to come up with a 5-point difference. Second run is at a 20. Their third run. It looks like it's going to be another in the 20s. Oh, that one's going to be a 25.5. So they end up with 3 solid 20s for 66.9375. It is actually a pretty good score, but is it going to be enough in order to assure that they can make it to the next? Let's start watching the next. Solar Flares. First one out of the box was not a good run. Matter of fact, it looked like one of the marbles actually kind of jumped in front of the stone and stopped it from rolling. So it gave him a 14.5. Second one, another poor running. That's a 15.25. Solar Flares could be in danger of being eliminated without a big run here. And they do get a big run. 25.5. So let's see how they sit. They end up with a 55.0000. They're in second place behind the Chocolate Mints. But sadly, the way that the point system works out, it all depends upon how much space can Chocolate Mints put between them and Solar Flares to ensure that they don't get eliminated. Now we have Volcanic Rock. Their first run is a hair over 24 inches, so their first one was an excellent run. Run number 2. I'm going to say that's in the 20. Run number 3. That looks like another one that's in the 20s. Sure enough, it's a 22 and a quarter. And Volcanic Rock ends up with a 71.1875. The card for the second run did get lost somewhere in the shuffle, but if you looked on that last sheet there, it did show that they ended up with a 24 inch on their second run. Now we have Cafe Mocha. Cafe Mocha first run is a 23 and a half. Their second run is off. They got a good second run. Sure enough, that's a 31 and a half. Anything in the 30s is going to be excellent, and it's going to be strongly beneficial to your overall score. Third run ended up with a 22 and 3/4, we'll call it. So currently they are now in first place with a 77.6875. Will-O-Wisp. Will-O-Wisp ends up with a decent first launch with a 23 and a quarter, we'll call it. Their second run. That was not a good hit for them. They didn't even make the 12-inch mark. We're going to call that 11 and a half inches. Third run down, and a second one bad, and that's going to be 11 and a quarter inches. Will-O-Wisp has a 46.0625. I think that's the second lowest score we've seen today. Now we have the Blueberry Racers. First run, moderate, not really. We'll call that a 16 and a quarter. Run number 2. And that one looks a little bit better. It sure was. It was almost a 24. We'll call it 23 and 3/4. Third run for them today. Looks like another one in the 23s. Sure enough, it's another 23 and 3/4. That puts them in fourth out of 6 racers currently with a 63. Now we have Cloudy Skies. Cloudy Skies is another one that has already been guaranteed. They can't be eliminated this week based upon points. But once again, they do not want to fall behind. So their first run is going to be a 20 and 3/4, so that's a good start for them. Second run. And that one does not look that good. It is not. I'll call that a 17 and an 8. Third run. So it looked like one of them got stuck up on the course. They had a double tap on the way down. They end up with less than 12 inches. They end up with a 49.75. There's this final standings for the division. There's the final current standings. It looks like Chocolate Mints did not make the cut. They're going to go home with 2 bronze medals. And goodbye. And finally, we have the Ghost Division. Let's find out who the 4th team going home would be. At the bottom of the list, we have the Rainbow Warriors, but they're only 1 point behind the next one down, which would be the Aurora Borealis. Aurora Borealis is going to go first. Race number 1 for them. They get a pretty decent kickoff. Not great, but it was a little over 18, so that's a good start. Let's see if they can top that off with 2 better runs. Second run comes down, and not really that good. It was a 13 and a quarter. Third race, they need a big one here, people. And they get it. 24 inches. Almost dead on. So there you go. Aurora Borealis starts us off 55. That's going to be a kind of a hard score to hopefully maintain good positioning, but they need it. Now we'll get the Rainbow Warriors. Rainbow Warriors come out with a pretty good start. Looks like they're at the 20-inch mark. We'll call it 20 and a quarter. Run number 2. They get a second good launch off. They're at a 22 on the second. Not looking good for Aurora Borealis, but definitely looks good for the Rainbow Warriors. Third one is going to be a 15 and a half. Let's call it that. They do have a better score than the Aurora Borealis, so they get a 57.75. Puts them in first place currently. Now the Whirlwinds. Not a great start. 16 and a quarter. Run number 2. A little bit better on this one. Just shy of the 20 mark. 19 and 3/4. Let's see if they can pull out a good third run for a decent final score. And it does not look like it. And sure enough, it is not. It's going to be 14 and a half. That gives them a total of 50.6875, puts them in third out of 3 runners currently. Now we have the Man of Steel. Man of Steel has been slowly working their way up the ranks, so let's see how they can work today. First run, not great, not bad. I'll call it a 19 and 3/4, so they're right there at that 20-inch mark. Second run. They're off, and boy, they got a good launch off on that one. They get all the way out to 33 and a half, by far the longest run we've seen today. Second one is right back, or third one is right back out there, another 33 and a half. They're trying to push for that 36 mark, which would have been awesome. They didn't get it, but they ended up with an 86.9375. That's going to be a very hard score to beat. Dragon's Breath. Dragon's Breath gets a pretty good launch, 19 and a quarter. Run number 2. Looks like we're going to be right out there around the 20s again. Sure enough, it's a 21 and a half, let's call it. Run number 3. Anything in the low 20? Nope. Barely breaks the 10-inch mark. So 2 decent runs with a poor run, but it gives them 4th out of 5 for the score of 51.1250. Dark Knights. Dark Knights at one point were leading their division. Now they're holding second place. First run puts them just shy of 24. We'll call it a 23 and 3/4. Run number 2. Another one that's going to be out there by the 24 mark. Looks like another 23 and 3/4. Run number 3. Not that great. Right at 16, but 2 good runs should give them a good showing for the day. Let's take a look. Sure enough, second place with a 63.2500. Still 20 inches behind the Man of Steel. Autumn Avengers, last race for the day. Let's see how they do. First one, I'm going to say it takes it out to around the 22 mark. Run number 2. It looks like another one around the 22 mark. Nope, this will be a 24 and a half, we'll call it. And run number 3. Looks like they got another one right around 24. Sure enough, we'll call it 24 and a quarter. So another set of good runs. That's going to be a 70.3750. Good enough for second place for the Avengers. But let's see how the overall standings get changed. And it looks like Aurora Borealis is going to be going home this week. So with no further said, that has bid Aurora Borealis adieu. let's go back and recap the final standings of each of the divisions to get an idea where we stand after this week. Fiesta Time got eliminated. Blue Cruisers are going to be 4 points behind the Son of Aries. Cheesy Cheetahs have a 9-point lead over them. They are tied with Snow Fighters, who are between the two. They're 2 points behind Winter Wonderland, and Arctic Storm has built out a decent lead over everyone else. I do want to cover one thing on these slides. So we have points in that first column, and the points system has been previously discussed. Second column shows the gold medals that they've earned. Third column shows the silver. Fourth column shows the bronze. And that last column that says HP in it, that is your highest positioning that marble team has received after gold, silver, bronze. So in the case of Arctic Storm as an example, they have 53 points, 1 gold, 1 silver, 1 bronze, and the highest place outside of the gold, silver, bronze is 6th place. That becomes the 4th tie-breaking procedure that we utilize when we're trying to make a determination on positioning. After the Vampire Division, we have the Werewolf Division. In the Werewolf Division, we did watch Touch of Grey go home today. Glaciers are right there on the bubble. They are 6 points behind Starry Skies and Desert Oasis. So that will be a significant battle that Glaciers are going to have to tackle on the next episode. Glaciers and Starry Skies and Desert Oasis are 3 points behind Ocean Depths, who is 7 points behind River Rapids, and they are 1 point behind the Seaweed Speeders. This is a very tight division. I think it's one of the tightest divisions that we currently have. So the Werewolf Division is going to be a division that's going to be exciting to watch for the rest of the tournament. Now we switch over to the Zombie Division. In the Zombie Division, we noticed that Chocolate Mints did go home today. Solar Flares only had a 1-point lead over them, so they are also on the bubble. However, in their benefit though, Will-O-Wisp only has a 2-point lead over Solar Flares, so Will-O-Wisp is also on the bubble. Then we have a 9-point gap between Will-O-Wisp and the Blueberry Racers. Blueberry Racers are at 43, Volcanic Rock is at 44, and Cafe Mocha is at 49. Those three are going to be very close competitors for the rest of the series. But Cloudy Skies has started to pull out. He's got a 7-point lead with 2 gold medals, and his highest place is a 4th place. So even though Cafe Mocha also shares the 2 gold medals, there is a 7-point difference that they will have to overcome in order to catch up to Cloudy Skies. Our last division naturally is going to be the Ghost Division, and as we glance at the Ghost Division, we did notice that Aurora Borealis went home today. Whirlwinds had a 5-point lead at the cut today over the Aurora Borealis, but there is also a 5-point difference between them and the Rainbow Warriors, who are currently holding the 5th slot. So once again, Whirlwinds are going to have to work hard to catch up to the Rainbow Warriors next week and pass them up if they wish to have a chance to continue on in this tournament. Between Rainbow Warriors and Dragon's Breath, there's 2 points, and then there's a huge gap of 14 points between the 4th and the 3rd place. Man of Steel's got 50 points, Dark Knight's got 55 points, and the Autumn Avengers have got a massive lead of 65 points, 10 points over the 2nd place team. This is one of the divisions that has got the biggest spread between the marble teams that are in there. But this is Battle Royale, and nothing can be left out saying that a team cannot make a comeback. Come on back next week so we can see what are the next 4 teams that are going to be eliminated. Till that time, this is Terry with T&D Marble Entertainment, wishing you a great day.